My name is Desiree Masucci, and I am the head of the dance program at Ransom Everglades School in Miami, Florida. And I'm excited to be moderating a virtual conversation with director Mr. Eitan Wetzler of the movie Doroteah, which is premiering at this year's festival. Thank you all for joining us. Hello, Mr. Eitan. How are
Hi.
you?
Thank you. Very good. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So we'll just jump right into this. One of the biggest things about watching Dorothea was as a documentary, it's really getting up close and personal with Dorit Shimron, who the choreographer and artistic director of Tenuatron, one of the oldest and most renowned dance companies out of Israel. Um, Talk to us about Tenuatron and a little bit more about Dorit Shimron and how you interacted with her during the filming process.
Okay. Well, actually, it started many years ago. I think maybe 30 years ago. I was assigned at the time. I'm a freelance filmmaker, and I was assigned to go to film this dance group in Ramat HaSharon, which is near Herzliya, between Herzliya and Tel Aviv. And I went there with the cameraman and soundman at the time. And we entered this hall, dance hall, there are mirrors around and and yeah. And I see these girls exercise and doing all kind of things, just preparing for the class. And I was talking to the cameraman. I said, doesn't seem to me that it's really interesting to be here. We'll just finish it fast because 16, 17 years old girls just doing whatever they're doing. They look nice, but other than that, big deal. And then they all looked very regular, very like next door girls. And then Dorit Shimron came into the room and everything changed like this, because all of a sudden there was magic. The girls were completely different. They had a different behavior. They just stood in line. They were professional dancers. It was amazing to see. And Dorit she was rough with them, but it was very important for her. Every move, every it was like being in the army or something like that. There were, and she also said it in the film. She said, I was rough with the girl. I was tough with them, and it was very true. And so after I saw what they were doing and all the practicing and everything, I came to do it and I said, listen, this is amazing. I want to make a film about this group, which I didn't know about before I came. And she said, well, welcome. And then 25 years ago, I made the first film about Tenuatron, which is a 30-minute film. And it was called Over the Rainbow because the program was called Over the Rainbow. And it was shown in New York Dance Film Festival 25 years ago. And it got also an award there, the film, which was very short. It was 25 minutes or so. And then Dorit and I kept in touch for all these years. And a few years ago, 4 years ago, I think, we met in a coffee place and she said, I'm almost 70 years old now, and maybe we can do something for all my artistic work, and I said, wow, that's a wonderful idea. And that's how it all started, the film. And if Dorotea, one of the explanation of the name of the film, the title of the film, is generations. Dorot is generations. So she had, the many generations that went through this dance company. So many generations, And one of the sentences that she said in the earliest film, she said, the girls are changing all the time. I pick up different girls, but I stay young.
Yeah. No, that's such a great point because yeah, how ironic, right? That her name is so close to generations and yet that is like if I had to pick a word that embodied her from this documentary, from this chronicle and archival video of her work, her life, her her artistic vision, her pedagogy, everything. She is so much about documentation or chronicling, saving. One of my favorite parts of the movie is, she just shows you all of the albums. She just kept everything. Like she couldn't throw anything away. I relate to that completely. I kept everything. As an artist, we can't part with our work because it's the only um living thing that's left because dance is exactly as she said it. I say that to my students all the time. And when I heard it in the video where she says dance is fleeting, the minute it begins, it's over. It doesn't matter how many times you produce it over and over again. Your performance, that moment, that time, that night will never be the same.
Yeah,
And she says it like pictures don't do justice. You can video and it's still not justice as opposed to seeing it live. That transcendence we feel from a dancer on stage where we connect and we don't even know on what emotional level it is. We just feel this like transference of energy. And and I love that she says, the girls come and go. They
yeah,
cycle out of my studio. They grow,
right.
but I stay the same.
Exactly. Yeah,
She's the constant, right?
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so interesting. I
Yeah,
love
in that sense, I feel myself lucky because because what I'm doing stays forever. Well, it doesn't stay forever, but it does. It stays for many many years. And
yeah.
um, it's interesting that she kept all this material that many different photographers and not filmmakers, but documentaries. I don't know how to call them, camera people took on her behalf. And in Israel, there is what you call this institution, not the National Library. The
Mhm.
National Library came to her, and she gave them all the material. So now, they collect all the material that she has, and they put it uh, for next generations. So if dance teachers want to show, because she's definitely one of the first people that brought to Israel modern dancing.
Completely. I mean, I admit, even as a what I love so much about this is as a dance teacher, I can take accountability for this, that I did not know about Gertrude Kraus. I did not, I have studied dance. I have a minor in dance, but I didn't know about that. And I was kind of like, I need to do more research. And it prompted me to do the research, to go out and find more information about Dorit, about Tenuatron, which then just led me down a path and listening that her inspiration was Gertrude Kraus and reading about Gertrude Kraus. But then I found the connection that Gertrude Kraus learned from Agnes de Mille. And obviously, what I could tell as watching the video, I'm like, this looks familiar to me. I'm like, this looks like Martha Graham. Well, of course, it has to be, right? Because that's her prodigy. And we talk about generations. Dance is a dance. I teach that to my students, but I learned that in school that I must understand dance as a dance family. That every choreographer, every prodigy, every person that I study in dance came from somebody. They was it literally Martha Graham is we are taught she is the mother of modern dance, and out of Martha Graham came all of her students who then made more students. And this is how dance evolves and how dance continues, because we care so much about, as dancers, we care about who our mentors were. I love that Dory talks about how much Gertrude Krause meant to her because of learning that from her mother, and how that was so important in preserving in her pedagogy, in her studio, in her students. And it doesn't surprise me. Like, I find it funny too that I watched the documentary and I came out of it too like, wow, she's kind of tough, like,
Oh
but
yeah,
but it produces. And yet these students, years later, it's that same thing as a teacher. The love, you must be cruel to be kind, but very Machiavellian in a way, but it's what produces artists. And it's what we call dancers discipline, right? Exactly. You see these girls coming in, but yet when the mentor comes in, when the teacher presents herself, the class has started and we are different. We carry ourselves different. And I love
absolutely.
that.
Yeah, and one of the things that I have to say, which was really, there were many difficult things that I had with Dorit. She likes to get involved in everything, but she said, you do whatever you want, in a sense that if you want to show me in a certain way, that's fine with me. I'm not going to criticize it or censor it. So that was good. I had the free hand to do it, just to show her as she is. And she understood that it's important to show her as she is, not to make her like a great lovable person or something like that.
No, authenticity is everything. I
Yeah.
mean, especially from an artist's perspective, we our artistry, like how I even view myself, or like how when I talk with other artists, that is our essence, right? Like my authenticity, who I am, is how I teach, is how I see the world. Everything filters through my eyes through who I am. And if I don't show who I am, if I am not myself, then my art is not myself. Then that's when you start seeing, like, artists. You could take any type of artist. Like when you look at Jackson Pollock, that's Jackson Pollock, right? Just
Yeah.
as Picasso is Picasso. It doesn't matter if that was your prodigy or not. You are still looking at it through a different lens. And what I love about is so great to now talk about it more is, as I'm falling more in love with Dory,
Mm.
talking more about her. Watching the film is kind of like, as a dance teacher, I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I would have said it like that. Like, but then I look at my own pedagogy as a teacher and I say, but look at what the results are. Like, my students, I find that I have a very soft hand with my students.
Really.
And yet I know I have respect, but yet that type of respect, can I walk into a room and command a room at that level? I think that's what I aim for. I think that's what we all aim for as teachers of our art, correct? Like, we don't need to be famous to everyone. We just need to be successful in our field to the right people. And yet for Dorit, her right people is her students.
Right.
And and that's who she makes art for. She makes it for, not, I don't feel she makes it for the masses. She makes it and she doesn't care if you like it or not. Like, it lives because it's her vision. And yet that is her goal, is getting her students to see her vision, to be in her vision. And very much like, that's kind of like the quote they say, what's the difference between a tyrant and a leader? A leader inspires you to want to do what they need you to do, whereas a tyrant tells you that's what you're going to do. And yet she does it through inspiration. She gets everybody on her page, which is really interesting. And I
Yeah.
I think that's so great that she was so open to be like, yeah, you're going to show me being tough. And this is me.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. She doesn't want to portray as a very nice person or something like that, but just as you say, authenticity, to be what she is, really is.
It I think also another part in the movie that's very kind of tough to watch, like kind of you get that moment where you're like, "Ooh, awkward." Like when she has to encounter her executive director after all those years and kind of discuss what severed the ties. And that is interesting. I now as we talk more about it, I'm getting like so much more of an appreciation for this because those are the moments you hide, right? Like a film director can hide those moments. You can edit. Yet in a way, you chose as a film director and her as an artistic input in this, please don't hide what really happened. Like,
Yeah,
yeah. And that
yeah.
happens all the time. Art dance companies all the time, behind the scenes have disagreements on executive versus artistic. And how do you mesh that? And to watch that conversation happen after all those years, that was so what's the word? Organic, completely organic in the moment. Like, yeah, I'm going to call you out. I'm going to ask you about that thing that, oh, yeah, maybe we should talk about this off camera. No, I'm going to do this like right now in front of everybody.
Yeah.
That was interesting. How did that
even
feel as a film director?
even more so, at the end, almost at the end of the film, when she talked to her student, who
Okay.
became, Shiri was her name.
Yes.
You know, and they talk about in the beginning, if you of the conversation, they talk about look. She looked when she was 30, the same way as this girl is looking now at 40 or something like that. And then they go into a big clash, because she accusing her of stealing the work of art, and take it to New York. And by the way, I many times told Dorit, I said, if you were born in the United States, you probably were very famous. You were really make it, because Israel is so, such a tiny country. I mean, to be someone here doesn't mean that you're going to make it in the world. In the
Mhm.
States, I thought, maybe I'm wrong, it might be a different destiny for her.
What's very interesting though is this opens up a conversation, right, or a discourse about what is artistic appropriation? What is not the, I don't want to say stealing, but what is being inspired versus what is appropriation? What is taking?
Exactly. Exactly. As an artist, you always you are always influenced by Fellini, by Godard, by
Completely.
Bergman, but you're not stealing. You're influenced. The world is a progressive. The artwork, what we seen 40 years ago in film, we don't see today. I mean, it's different. And the same thing with dance. We grow all the time and uh, try to see different angles of different things. So yeah, influence, and it's a big issue, I think.
Well,
What
it's
is
a and it's a big issue now, just from a dancer's perspective. I'm sure you can relate from film. Exactly. We're influenced. That's a great word. We're inspired. We are influenced. I teach my current students based on my mentors. That's how I study dance. There are certain movement, there's certain combos, there's certain aesthetical visual looks that if somebody watches me dance, they know exactly. They're like, "Oh, I know exactly who you learned dance from." Like that is totally that's exactly how I felt watching her. I said, "Oh, this has to be like she has to have background in Martha Graham, like completely, like all the breathing techniques and the organic, like the organism, very very parabolous, very all inspired from modern dance." And yet we accept it. And then we look at the situation at the end with her student. What I would love to ask you is, do you think, and maybe if you can shed light on this from conversations with Dorit, Do you think it would have gone a different way if Shiri would have given her artistic credit and not tried to play it off as this is my studio? If it would have been more in collaboration and paying homage to her mentor, Dorit, what do you
Yeah.
think that would have
Well,
looked
I have to tell you that I can only relate to one side
like, of course?
because I heard Dorit talk about it for many times, you know. So I have the side of Dorit. Shiri didn't like that scene. She actually was very angry.
I'm
But
sure.
yeah, but she agreed to come and talk about it. She could have
Um,
said whatever she wanted, you know. Um, and um, and 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 I think Dorit didn't forgive her, but sometimes film does miracles that it opens up. You know, probably Dorit and Shiri would have never been come together to talk about this issue unless there was a camera there and they wanted to talk about it in the film, you know. So many times I see it in films that, especially documentary, that the moment you get together two people that are in rivalry or something like that, it can be open up, you know, talk about the problem and then solve it. Not always it solved, but many times it does. You know, I've seen it in different situations. So I cannot tell you, back to your question, I cannot tell you that I can really relate to Shiri's story, narrative, you
yes.
know, but but I'd say that they're both strong uh, uh, persons. They have this strong personality, and somehow they had to go apart to accomplish something in their career. You know,
Absolutely.
so
No,
I cannot judge. You know,
no, completely, and it's kind of it's a choice we make, right? As artists, we make a choice. How do we want to advance our career?
right.
And it is only for her student to live with those choices, right? Does she justify what she did?
Yeah.
Looking at the means, did the means justify the end?
Yeah. From the scene, we learn that actually she did something she shouldn't have done. She didn't
Yeah.
invite Dorit to the performance, the first
Yes.
show or something like that, and um, she didn't tell her what's exactly going on. She somehow there were hidden things about what's going on really. Dorit felt out of what is happening and things like that. So, but you know, it's hard to judge because I never heard after that the point of view of Shiri. And you know, and films is I see many times that films is the point of view of a person, and I took the point of view of Dorit Shimron.
And that is your job, and that's you as the director too, to accurately portray her authenticity, tell her story, her narrative, and allow
Exactly.
it to unfold as it does. And I like what you say about film or and art, has a way of bringing people together. Immediately, like off topic, I think of a Marina Abramovich, like it's very performance art. She did a piece where she literally invited her ex-lover, and after 20 years they see each other, and the emotion is completely organic and real in real time. And that was what I love so much about your film in its entirety, is that it's raw. It's real. These emotions are real. These thoughts are real. How she feels is real. It's exactly as you said. I did not feel it was censored. And I think as a film director, that is what you aim for, is properly portraying somebody else's story, and showing their authenticity. Um,
Absolutely.
We have time for, like, maybe one more question or comment. Is there, um, if you could if is there anything you wanna tell everybody? Like, what would you love to say more about your film that you would like to make sure we hear directly from you?
About Dorotea.
Yes. What did you love about it? What did you hate about it? This is your moment to say the last thoughts on your film and how you feel about it now.
There, there are many things that I can say, but what comes to mind is that I was trying, maybe at the beginning, not intentionally, but it happened, to film like in a claustrophobic kind of an environment. It's all happen. Almost everything happens in her apartment
Mhm.
and in a room full of mirrors. So all the time you see through the mirror
Yeah.
the people that are talking to Dorit and Dorit. So I liked it a lot to film it. You have to understand that I filmed the film myself, except for all the archive material. The archive material is shot by many camera people and so on. But I filmed the whole story of today, of the year 2020 or 2019 we started. So, so the idea of filming everything in this room full of mirrors was for me kind of something that if I look back at the film again and again, I appreciate my work as as someone who shot the mirrors, and all the time mirrors can bring us many ideas about
Yes.
what a mirror does, because filmmaking is also mirror, except from peeping, which we do as a filmmakers or people. Mirrors also tell us something about, what is the picture and what behind the picture, how we look from this side or that side, different things like that. So pay
That's so
attention to
interesting.
this.
No, that's great. That's so interesting. Like mirrors, I wanna go back and watch it again now and watch the mirrors. I'm so happy you were able to say that so that our audience and, like, more people who are gonna watch this will say, "I need to go back and look at that," you know? Yeah, you're watching their reactions, but it's kinda going from here to here to here, but now you could watch behind it.
Yeah,
That's
because if, for
interesting.
example, when Shiri, if we talk about that
Yes,
scene, Shiri and Dorit are talking, you see one as a real person and the other one in the mirror, but as if they, it's amazing, so interesting to watch. And you see the reaction without moving the camera. You can move the camera, but you cannot move the camera, which
yeah.
is really, really nice. So,
That's very interesting, Eitan.
okay.
Um, well, we have a little bit of time left just to be able to wrap up. I will just say again, thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
this interview, for sharing your insight on your work. We thank you for your artistry and again, just want to say that we say thank you to director Mr. Eitan Wetzler from the movie Doroteah and for joining us. And once again, we want to thank all of our members, sponsors, community partners, volunteers, and all of you film lovers for participating in the Miami Jewish Film Festival. Thank
And
you.
I want to thank you too, Desiree. It was really nice talking to you.
Thank you very much.